Are you curious about clicker training your cats? Ooh, get ready to have fun. Oh, hello, Poutine. Hi, Poutine. Poutine actually is the one who's going to teach you about clicker training. He put together this whole video, so say thank you to Poutine. Oh, thank you, Poutine. Poutine put together some basic topics for clicker training your cat. I want to help you get started here, so let's get going into Poutine's lesson. Supplies. Let's talk about that first, because before you get going, you are going to need to get the supplies that you need to be able to do the training. The most basic supply for clicker training is a clicker. Now, you could use something like a verbal marker instead. However, I prefer using an actual clicker because the noise is consistent and that helps the cat understand what it is that they're doing that's getting them the rewards that are part of clicker training. For cats, you want to get clickers that are quieter because otherwise they can cause stress in your cats and they may scare them. I am an affiliate with some of the companies that make these, so Poutine earns a commission if you click any of the links and purchase using them in the description. That said, legally they do go to me because Poutine can't open a bank account. There are a lot of clickers out there. You want one that isn't too loud so it doesn't scare your cat and makes a reliable sound. You can get a basic clicker that just clicks, or ones that have extra features that make training easier. My favorite clickers are clicker rings, like the Clickchino clicker ring, because they keep your hands free and are a good volume for cats. This makes it easier to use tools, give treats, or train behaviors like high five that involve your hands. Hello, Poutine. Do you want to show off the clicker? Do you want to show off the clicker with the treat storage pouch in it? This clicker has a treat storage pouch in it. Thank you, Poutine. This clicker has a There are clickers that have a treat storage in it. There are clickers that have treat storage in them as well, too, that you can use to keep, well, treats or something else in there, whatever you want to put in here. These are bulky, though, so I like them a little bit less than I like the clicker rings, but they do still serve two needs. You can also find clickers that have target sticks built in, but they do require you to have the target stick out when you're using them. Target sticks, for the record, have nothing to do with a retail chain store. That happens to be the most magical place on earth as far as I'm concerned, and I make it no secret that I'm obsessed with it. Besides clickers, you're going to need something to use as reinforcement or as a reward that is going to give your cat something in exchange for doing the behavior that you want them to do. Typically, we use treats because they're easy. Now, they do need to be things that your cat will like, so you don't want to try forcing them to use something that they're like, gross. If your cat likes lickable treats or goopy treats like a churro, go for it. If your cat likes a crunchy treat, go for it. It needs to be a flavor, a texture, and a delivery method of the treat, which means how you give it to your cat, that they are interested in, and that's all that matters. Ultimately, the thing that you use in reinforcement is something that your cat wants and that they like. Now, if you need something kind of creative and you can't find, hello, Poutine, and you can't find something that your cat is interested in working for, I have a whole video that I will make appear up here about using non-treat reinforcers, or you can go to your kitchen. Poutine, you are a silly Poutine. You are a silly Poutine. So helpful. Wow, my sound is going to be wonky on this video. Okay, we're talking about going to the kitchen to get reinforcers. So, things that you can find in your kitchen that are weird but sometimes can work. Butter. Butter is great. You can also use cheese. Think basic cheese, not like the fancy stinky cheeses, just like mozzarella or cheddar. Poutine. Another great tool is baby food. Just get a basic baby food that's pure meat. Something kind of weird that I've used with a lot of clients actually is Cheese Whiz or Easy Cheese or whatever they're calling it these days. Basically the canned cheese that you squeeze out and it may be mostly rubber. Cats love it. It's tasty. Besides the required supplies, which are a reinforcer, a clicker, and I suppose a cat, you can grab a few other things that may be helpful in certain situations and in some cases may be required depending on the behavior that you're trying to teach. Hello, Poutine. Hello. Thank you, Poutine. Can we do a headbutt? Optional supplies, because Poutine is distracting me. This is going to be a really low quality video, clearly, but the information is going to be good. Poutine just moved some things on my screen. Think about what behavior you want to train. Depending on what it is, you may need some specific supplies that are not optional in that case. If you want to train your cat to go to a specific place, you'll need something like this mat that I sewed, or a washcloth to teach your cat to go there. Washcloths can also be used to train high five by first teaching your cat to walk on it and then moving it onto your hand. Gloves also serve a similar function if you train your cat to touch it while it's sitting on the ground first. If your cat is very reactive to noises, you can even put the clicker inside the glove to muffle the sounds of the clicker. If that's still too loud, put your gloved hand in your pocket. Another great tool is a target stick. Target sticks can be used to teach a cat to touch it with their nose and then follow it, which can be used for other behaviors. This is the target stick that I used with my cat Zoloft, and was the first target stick that I ever got when I first started training, so it's very, very sentimental to me. This is nice because it's retractable, so you can make it really long if you need to. A target stick has a distinct end, usually a ball, and a long stick. If you don't want to buy a target stick, you can make your own. These target sticks that I make are very simple. It's just a dowel, a pom-pom, and a little bit of hot glue. You teach your cat to touch the ball end of the target stick with their nose. We'll go over exactly what that process looks like later in the video. You can store your target stick in a treat pouch if it has pockets, which makes keeping things like dry or crunchy treats and other tools easily accessible. If you're using a lickable treat or baby food, let me teach you one of my favorite optional tools, bar spoons. They're spoons with long necks that you can stand and give your cat a goopy liquid treat without bending over. Bar spoons are great to create distance between you and your cat if your cat has a tendency to get a bit too into the clicker training and the treats. Best of all, they're dishwasher safe, so they're easy to clean if you're lazy like I am. You've got your supplies, let's get clicker training. Clicker training is based off of positive reinforcement, which means that you add something in that the cat likes and the behavior that you're trying to target increases. That's in contrast to what a lot of people try and do when they're training their cats, which uses something called positive punishment, where you add something in that the cat doesn't like a spray bottle, and you try and decrease a behavior. Our focus with clicker training is on getting behaviors that you want. That said, you can stop a behavior that you don't like using clicker training. However, Poutine has a full video planned for you on that, so it'll be ready once I have a chance to film it. The clicker in clicker training is used to mark a behavior that you want the cat to do. It means that the cat did something that is going to get them a reward, and we teach them that the click means that 100% of the time, yes, every single time you click, they get some sort of reinforcer. For purposes of this video, I'm going to use the term treat or reward for reinforcer, but remember, you can use other things besides treats for training your cat. So just imagine whatever it is that you're using as reinforcement and you'll get the same, it's the same concept. It does need to be very reliable that when they hear the sound of the click, they get the reinforcer, because otherwise they'll be like, I don't know, am I going to get it or not? And it becomes less of a reliable marker. Think of the click as being like a camera where you take a photo of the behavior that you want and let the cat know that, that's a thing that you should keep doing because it's going to get you a reward. Even if you make a mistake when you click, you still need to give them a reward. Your cat didn't make a mistake, you did. One big thing that people do wrong when they first get going is that they will try using the clicker as a cue. A clicker is not a cue. You are not trying to tell the cat that they should do a behavior with the clicker. I repeat, you are not telling the cat to do a behavior with the clicker. It tells the cat that what they did gets them a treat. You don't want to use the clicker as a cue because then you can only get one behavior with that, rather than using the clicker for multiple different behaviors. We're going to talk about how to add in an actual cue later, but for now, just know that you don't use the clicker to cue the behavior. You will not make that mistake, will you? No? Good, I didn't think so. Clicker training works its magic by associating the sound of the click with the treat, and by being consistent, your cat really understands that that click is really significant. So we have you click at the exact moment that a cat does a behavior that you want, and we repeat it a lot. A lot of clicker training is repetition. You repeat the same thing over and 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 over again until your cat gets it. And you you want to do it over multiple sessions and over time. And for more complicated behaviors, you're going to start with a little slice of the behavior, and you're going to kind of gradually approximate your way towards the final behavior that you want. In other words, you break it into smaller pieces, kind of like how I'm going to break this into smaller pieces for you. This might seem kind of overwhelming, but let's get going with how do you teach the cat to use the clicker? Or rather, how do you use the clicker with your cat? And how do you teach your cat that click means treat? There's two schools of thought. One of them is that you start out by charging the clicker, which basically means you just click, treat to start. And your cat basically gets some freebies when you're getting going. Some people say that this isn't necessary, and you can just dive right in, or basically you just get going. You wait for the cat to do a behavior that you want, you click, you give them a treat in response for that. Now, you don't necessarily have to do one or the other. You can try both and see what works. However, don't get stuck on the charging the clicker part. Just do it like once or twice and then move on and start doing the actual training. If you don't keep going, you aren't going to see results. And there's probably something else that's going on. Start doing the training sooner rather than later. Do not charge the click forever. Great, now your clicker's charged, or you're just diving right in. How do we teach a behavior? It ultimately depends on the behavior that you want to teach your cat. I'm going to go over two behaviors that are pretty simple to do because you want to start easy. Make this easy on you and make it easy on your cat. You're both learning. You are getting down the mechanics of how to do clicker training, and your cat is learning, what do I do? How do I get these treats? What is that weird noise? What is the click? You want to teach your cat the click in a way that is easy for them to understand. So let's start with targeting, and then we're going to talk about sit. Sit is, there's two ways that I'm going to go over how to teach that behavior. I'll tell you which one I prefer. I want to start with targeting because it's so simple. Now, you'll remember earlier when we talked about target sticks. I am going to grab my target stick because I have it nearby. Here it is. Target stick. Remember, targeting is nose of your cat, pretend I'm a cat, to target. It's that simple. There's nothing really that much more complicated to it, other than once your cat learns it, you can do an advanced version of targeting. But to start out with, this is the behavior that we're going for. Again, it is actually really useful, so you do want to teach your cat this behavior. As an aside, if you don't have a target stick, you can also do this with a finger, and I will not judge you for whichever finger you choose to use. So you've got your target stick. What you do is you put it out in front of your cat, and as soon as they go and they sniff, you click at that exact moment, and then you give your cat a treat. And then you wait for them to finish eating their treat, and you offer it again, and they go and they touch it, and they get a treat after you click, and you go and you offer it again after they finish chewing on their treat, and then they go and they touch it and click, and then they get a treat, and then you repeat that over and over again. That is targeting. Now, some cats don't instantly go to touching their nose to the target. There's a few workarounds for that. You could add a little bit of catnip or tuna juice or something like that to it, or put just a dab of some sort of lickable treat or baby food on there. You could also do what we call successive approximations, which is how you teach more complicated behaviors. Typically, you don't need to do this for targeting, but your cat might need it, so we listen to the cat that is in front of us. What you do would be you'd think about, what are all the steps to this behavior? For targeting, it would be you present the target stick, which is not something your cat is doing, so you can't really click for that. Looking at the target stick, which you could click for that. Your cat moving towards the target stick, which you can click for that. And then touching their nose to the target stick, which absolutely you can click for that. Break it down into small steps, even if the small steps seem kind of ridiculous, because you are trying to teach your cat, and it matters that they understand things. Not how it feels for you, it's that they are understanding. Sometimes cats will paw at a target stick, but remember, for targeting, at least for the way that I'm teaching you how to do it, you want your cat to touch their nose to the target stick. Don't click for your cat pawing at the target stick. And don't click because your cat kinda did it and you feel bad for them. They need to earn their treat. Now, if they're really struggling with it, you need to make it easier on them. Your goal is not to be mean or to make your cat suffer or anything like that. Your goal is to help your cat learn. You want them to succeed, so you want to set them up for success, and then start gradually pushing it a little bit. But you still want them to be successful. So don't make it too hard, decrease the difficulty if needed, and make it so that they are going to be likely to do the behavior, or at least as likely as you can get them to be. You will tell you are being successful with this by your cat touching the target faster and faster. Eventually, you can start moving the target, but that is something that's a little bit more advanced than today's video. Let's talk about sit. Sit is a pretty basic behavior where your cat sits on the ground. Duh. There's two ways of teaching it, as I mentioned earlier. One is a method called capturing, where basically you just wait for your cat to touch their butt to the ground and you click at the exact moment that they do that. And then you repeat that over and over again. And I do have a little bit of a trick for getting them to do it more frequently that I'll go over after I explain the second method, which I like to call the arch method. I actually do not like the arch method that much. I find it a little bit more difficult, but other people find it useful, so I'm going to teach it to you. I tend to not use it very much, though. Basically, what you do is you take a treat and you hold it out at the right distance where your cat isn't going to just go for it or claw at it, and you move it gradually over their heads. They have to keep their eyes on it, and then their butt goes down into sit position, and when their butt hits the ground, you click. Again, it's very similar to the capturing method in that you're clicking when your cat's butt hits the ground, but this way you're kind of luring them into it a little bit. The reason I find it challenging is that getting that distance between the treat and your cat just right seems to be very difficult, and sometimes cats will just back up rather than watching the treat with their eyes and then putting their butt to the ground. Now, I promised you a trick for this one, so get ready. This is going to change your life. You want to give your cat the treat away from where they are when they go into sit. You want to get them out of sit to go get their treat, because if you already clicked, they know that that was the thing that earned them the treat. So you don't need to worry about them thinking, oh yeah, I'm getting the treat for walking over there. No, they already understand that it's in response to sitting that they get the treat. With clicker training, your goal is to create opportunities for your cat to get a click and to get a reinforcer. The more times that happens, the more likely they are to repeat the behavior, and the stronger the behavior will be. You want what we call a high rate of reinforcement, especially for new behaviors. So, by getting your cat out of sit and teaching them to go over to that location to get the treat, your cat is going to have another opportunity to earn another click, and the behavior is going to be taught faster than if you were to just wait for them to get up on their own. Did you notice anything missing so far from how I explained teaching that behavior? You might be sitting there wondering, Joey, how do I cue the behavior? How do I get my cat to sit? Well, you could use the arch method. Again, that is an option. However, if you're relying on capturing, you don't actually need to cue the behavior to start. By definition, reinforcement means a behavior increases. So if you are succeeding, the cat's going to do it more and more and more and more and more. Capturing is useful for behaviors that cats do naturally a lot, so it's not useful for rare events. And in those cases, you may need to use another method. However, you don't want to try adding in a cue for the behavior until the cat is doing it a lot on their own, and until you've done anything to try and perfect the behavior or get it exactly how you like. Because then you don't have to worry about your cat doing an earlier version of the behavior later. In other words, you wait to add in the cue until later. If you've ever been out walking and seen someone with a dog and they're standing there and they're like, sit, 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 at the dog, and the dog is absolutely not sitting. They might be leaping, or they might be jumping, or they might, I don't know why I'm thinking all these dogs are just in the air all the time. They're flying dogs, apparently. Either way, the dog is not sitting. They don't understand what that word means. Your cat does not understand what the word sit means until you teach it to them. They don't speak English. By trying to use the cue too early, you end up frustrated. Your cat ends up frustrated. Everybody ends up frustrated. Wait until later when you know that the cat is going to do the behavior, and then add in the cue. Once again, there's two schools of thought on how to add in the cue. Basically, they boil down to how close to the final behavior do you add in the cue, and do you do what we call backing it up, or at least I call it backing it up, where you start close to the final behavior and move it until it's becoming a cue to signal to do the behavior, or do you just start when the cat starts doing the behavior or right before it? I prefer adding it in right before your cat starts doing the behavior. What you do, and this is really simple, is you give the cat the cue right as they start doing the behavior, and then you click like normal, and you repeat that a lot. A word on cues and cats. Cats sometimes do a little better with visual cues compared to verbal cues. However, a lot of what I do professionally is solving inter-cat conflict, so I need verbal cues for my clients because their cats need to be, for example, drawn away from another cat. And we don't want the cats to end up... Hello, Poutine. Poutine is just switching to the other cat bed. Oh, Poutine. If your cat isn't looking at you, the visual cue really isn't going to work. You can do both a visual and a verbal cue at the same time. I usually do verbal cues with clients because I need the cat to be cued to do the behavior even when they're not looking at their humans. You can do either one and try them both and see which one your cat does better with. There's no reason you can't mix it up, or you can't just do both. Don't try actually eliciting the cue until you're positive that your cat understands it. How do you know that they understand it? Repeat it a lot. Over time, repeat the cue over and over and over again using the same process so then they really get it, and then try eliciting it later. You'll notice that a lot of clicker training is repetition. Hey, I said that earlier. It's true though. You want to repeat things so people remember. Cats remember them. You want to repeat them so cats remember them. We should move on to my 2 top tips for beginner clicker trainers. Number 1, you want to do this in small increments. Clicker training may sound like it's going to take a ton of time, and some behaviors do take time. You can do it in really small pieces. Think about if you're making a pot of noodles or something for dinner. During the time that the water is boiling or that the noodles are cooking, you can do a clicker training session with your cat. You can do it at any point in time where you've got a couple of minutes of downtime. It doesn't have to be long power training sessions. Actually, most cats don't really like doing long training sessions. The one exception, Prozac. He likes training for long periods of time. He can just keep training. Whenever I try and stop, he's like, whoa, bro, let's keep going. Even if your cat only likes training for short periods of time, just start with those short periods of time and work your way up. You can gradually extend it. If you can do 5 clicks and 5 repetitions of behavior to start, maybe once your cat gets good at it, you can get to 6. Awesome. That works. It gets your cat there. Number 2 is that you want to remember that your cat and you are in a partnership in this. This is not you demanding that they do things, which is part of the reason why I use the word cue and not the word command. It's because you are cueing the cat that, hey, if you do this thing right now, you're going to get a reward. You're going to like it. Your cat is voluntarily participating. If you are noticing that your cat is not understanding what is going on, that actually lies on you and not your cat. Your cat isn't doing it intentionally. I'm going to phrase this in a very blunt way. It just means that you're a bad trainer. Or maybe not necessarily that you're a bad trainer, but that you could go about doing what you're trying to do in a different way that your cat would understand more. You need to listen to your cat. You can't just expect your cat to listen to you. They absolutely will listen to you if they understand what you're telling them and if you work with them. However, you can't only expect that your cat listens to you. Of course, clicker training is a lot more complicated than that. I have a whole video in the works on what to do when clicker training goes wrong and when you're not seeing success. Hit subscribe if you are interested in getting notified when that video is ready. And actually, you should just hit subscribe anyway. Think of it as being like, click, Joey. I'm clicking for you for making this lovely video. And also, most importantly, thanking Poutine for making this video because he's the real mastermind here. I hope that you found this video useful, and actually, you know what? Why don't we throw in a third tip about getting going with clicker training? And that's just get going. Don't be intimidated by this. When I work with clients privately, I tell them that they should just get going with the clicker training and not think about it too much. You can always fix mistakes later. Part of clicker training is learning. You and your cat are going to learn together, and you are going to have a great time. Now, shut down this video. Well, actually, don't shut down this video. Maybe watch one of my other videos. But then go grab your clicker and go get training with your cat. And have fun. Oh, thank you, Poutine. Thank you, Poutine. You are so sweet.